me Ian Bremmer, president of Eurasia Group. He joins me. Ian, so today's speech by or message from Vladimir Putin, taken with what we now know to be the territorial gains, is very worrying indeed.
It's a disaster, particularly for Russia in the long term, but of course, a great danger for Europe and for frankly, all of the advanced industrial democracies. Look, this is a war that's gone very, very badly for Russia. He has been forcibly decoupled, cut off economically, culturally, diplomatically from Europe, from the United States, from all the rich economies of the world. And not only that, Richard, but last week at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, even Putin's friends like Kazakhstan, China, India, at the head of state level, were telling him privately, and we're sort of saying publicly, this war is going very badly. We need it to come to an end. And Putin's response to that was unabashed doubling down, escalation. I don't care. I'm ignoring all of you. I am going my own way. And if that means I'm going to destroy myself in the process, so be it.
All right. Except he could destroy the rest of us as well as he does it. You said in an article, and when I read it, it was extraordinary. You said over the course of 200 days, Russia has gone from being a small China to a large Iran. That's an extraordinary shift, unprecedented, even for a major country in the last decades. I understand the pariah bit, but how do we now square this circle?
Yeah, Russia has basically become a gas station, the world's largest gas station with nuclear weapons and a grudge. That's not where they were on February 4th when Putin and Xi Jinping were standing up talking about their friendship. At that point, Russia was China's most important friend on the global stage. Yes, they were smaller, but they actually saw eye to eye on most issues. That isn't true anymore. And the danger of making Russia into a powerful Iran, well, look at what Iran means on the Middle East stage. If you go and talk to the Saudis or the Emiratis, yeah, they worry about nukes, but they talk to you about ballistic missile attacks, cyber attacks, espionage, drones. They talk about proxy wars, radicalism, terrorism, all of which comes from Iran. I see that coming from Russia to threaten not just Ukraine, as of course is happening today with the war, but also all of the countries of NATO. Remember, Putin and Russian media for the last week, he's been saying we're not fighting a war against Ukraine. We're fighting against all of NATO. That's why we're losing. That's why we're doing so badly.
All right. So on that point, the moment these referenda are held and there is the fig leaf of these regions a part of Russia, do you worry that he does use continuing Ukraine attack to basically say you're now attacking domestic Russia, NATO's attacking domestic Russia?
Of course, he can say that. I'm sure he will say that. Let's keep in mind two things, Richard, that'll just nuance that a bit. First is that there have been Ukrainian attacks into territory that Putin already considers to be Russia, into Crimea. We've seen a lot of that. The Russian response has been escalatory, but certainly not weapons of mass destruction. So too, direct attacks into the territory of Russia, like we've seen with artillery strikes into Belgorod, in infrastructure and in weapons depots in the past months. Also, you will remember, Richard, when Finland and Sweden said that they were thinking about joining NATO, Putin at the time said there would be directly diplomatic and military consequences if that were to occur. I was yesterday with my friend, the foreign minister of Finland, and I asked him, ever since you've actually gone ahead and announced you're joining, have there been any consequences from Russia? And the answer has been unequivocally, absolutely not. So Putin's capacity to talk tough and bluff is proven. Doesn't mean he's doing it this time, but let's recognize that this game has been played.
Right, but it's not a Potemkin army that he has. And he's bringing in 300,000 or so. Admittedly, it's going to take months to do that. So if you are Ukraine, do you have a window of opportunity to suck in as many missiles and NATO weaponry to advance as far as possible?
You clearly try. The next 3 months, you absolutely try to take as much territory back as has been taken from you since February 24th. Very unlikely they could take further territory beyond that the Russians have held since 2014. But let's keep in mind, Russia initially engaged in this war in Ukraine across the entirety of their territory with 190,000 troops. They are now talking about an additional 300,000, maybe they can't raise all of them, focused on a smaller piece of territory. If you're Ukraine, you've done incredibly well over the last 7 months, given what you're facing, but this is not going to get any easier for you, even with the extraordinary support that's come from NATO.
Ian, it is good to talk to you in UNGA week. I'm grateful. Ian Bremmer, who's with